a sec. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Mental Toughness and Body Show. My name is Rob Evans, and I'm your weight loss coach, health strategist, and internationally published author, helping take your life and your business, your health, fitness, mindset, and body from where you are right now to where it is that you want to be. And I'm super excited for today's episode. We've got a truly amazing guest. Her name is Karen McDermott, and she has authored over 40 books. She's a publisher and she's founder of Serenity Press, MMH Press, and KMD Books. She's a TEDx speaker. She's a Forbes Business Council member. She's a radio host. And if you thought you were busy, she's also a mum of 6. And what I love about Karen is her passion to work with high caliber publishers and authors to create successful storytelling platforms and brands. So I want to welcome you to the show, Karen.
Thank you so much, Rob. Hey, that sounds impressive, doesn't it? I'm still just me.
Oh, wonderful. Now, I know you've got a super busy day today, so I truly appreciate you taking some time out for us. Hey, I wanted to get started by understanding, I guess, what makes you so passionate about helping authors bring out their stories.
Well, before I was a publisher, I was an author. So I went on the author journey, and I always talk about it as being a journey because you're never the same person on the other end of it.
Yeah.
You know, there's always challenges that you grow through and move through. But my first novel I wrote and it was a novel. I didn't write a nonfiction. I wrote my story into a fiction and novel. I don't know why, it's
Cool.
just what called. So I wrote my first novel back in 2010 in 30 days during
Wow.
NaNoWriMo. I like a challenge. And if you write 1,667 words for a month, you have a 50,000 word novel. And you know the way they say there's a book in you? Well, this book spewed out of me. It was 2 days before NaNoWriMo was to begin that I heard the call to write. So I answered the call and just got stuck in. And that book has been a catalyst into publishing because I ended up self-publishing that book, and it wasn't a positive experience.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of that book, the quote that I wrote at the beginning of the book as an intro to the book was, "From every negative situation is the potential for a positive outcome." And little did I know that would be the essence of my publishing experience. So after I published that book and was holding it and said, "Oh my goodness, was this worth it?" It drained my bank account. I was left with just a book and not knowing what to do with it or how to get it out there or how to be an author. So I decided to do a bit of research, and the publishing company in the US that I used I'd done a bit of research to see who their print and distribution channel were, and they happened to open up an office in Melbourne that very month. So I was like, okay, I'm hearing this call. This is all a bit serendipitous. So I applied to become a publisher, and I promised myself that if I was accepted to become a publisher, then I would help stories get told in a positive way. So I'm really passionate about story because I know my story that I shared, The Visitor, it had my story intertwined in it, of having a double miscarriage. And when it connects with people who are looking for their answers, it gives them the answers their heart longs for and changes their perspective and gives them hope. So that's why I started to write. And now, obviously, I've written a lot more books since then, but that was the catalyst.
Yeah, beautiful. So what is it, do you think, about a book? Because people like myself that used to go to lots of networking events in person and stuff, and you hear people get up and talk about the book that they've written, or whether it's people that they follow and they've written a book, or people that say, you got to write your book. What is it in a book do you think is so powerful?
Well, there's different answers to this. So for a speaker needs to have a book because your book can go home with people. You can't,
Yeah.
if you're a really inspiring speaker, people will want more of that. So if they're able to bring your book home or download your book or whatever, they can bring and get to know you better. But and plus, whenever you write your book, whenever you're writing, you're going somewhere different. We can speak things and be outward, but whenever we write, we kind of go inward and really get to the nitty gritty. And we know who we're writing for, so you're giving them all that they need to move forward. Even fictional authors do that. Even children's book authors do that. You're giving your readers what they want to read as well. So it can change lives.
found in me creating my book, it's a part of credibility as well. If you've got a book, you know, that you can hold, you say, here's what I've written, even if the pages are blank, for crying out loud. People say, oh, wow, look, here's a book. Mine's not blank. But do you see that as well, that it really helps people build their credibility?
Well, if I'm working with an author or someone in business to build their brand, a book is a big part of that. And the reason why is because authorship comes with authority. The word author is in authority for a reason.
Yeah, good point.
Because, yeah, and can you imagine if you're going on an interview with a radio, TV show, or if, talking to you, if you are a best-selling author, or if you're a best-selling author or if you have a book, you're introduced in that way, author of or internationally best-selling author of, it just gives you a really good intro. But also, Rob, it takes a lot of effort and determination to see a book through from writing it to publishing it. So the credibility and the vibration that comes along with publishing your book is well earned because you have stuck the journey, the pace that a lot of people don't do. Whenever you write and publish a book.
I want to come back to that in a second, because I know from my perspective, like you say, it really is a journey, and you turn out to be a completely different person by the end of it. Before we get to that, I wanted to ask you about authenticity, really. So what I'm seeing, across the social media platforms and everything, the longer that they're around, you see, and the more apps that come up to make people more fake, I'm talking about the way that they look and everything, but I'm seeing that there's a lot of fakeness in what's being generated out there. And I think that people are starting to see through that, and people are wanting to see that more authentic person, the vulnerability, so that they're more relatable. I'm just wondering what you're seeing in terms of maybe books that are coming through that are also being fake, and whether you're seeing a demand for, people just want real stuff.
Absolutely. And that's why KMD Books is doing so well, because I always say to my authors, a lot of our authors are successful business owners or thought leaders and innovators. That's what KMD Books is about. But I always say, you can do case studies if you want, but give us a real life example of something you've experienced, because when you're speaking to your reader, as if, you're speaking in your words, your reader will learn so much more through your lived experiences, and what, how you interpret them, and only you can write them. So it makes your book the only, nobody else could write your book because nobody else has lived your experiences. And then it comes from, I'm Irish, so whenever somebody needs to learn something, we would share a story with them, and they would learn through the story and through our experiences. So that is where it comes from. And often when I help people to actually write their books, because I discovered it's a superpower of mine to help, because business owners don't have a lot of time to spare, and the thought of writing a book can just blow their mind. But that's just overthinking. If you are strategic and work, and go through the process, then you can write a book pretty fast these days. But it is about showing up authentic. People can see through it. They can see through it if you're not authentic. But when you share your stories, people get to know you. The person behind the business, they get to know you, and they get to know who they're connecting with, and they connect at a deeper level. And fakeness, people are not buying that anymore. They're really not. And I may show up with my nice blonde hair all done and my red lipstick, but that's just part of my signature thing. But what comes from inside, outside, is always going to be the same. It's always going to be me, and I walk my walk. So there's, I see there's people showing up and saying, I'll show you how to do this, but they aren't even doing it for themselves. So it's like, how can so that's it's just like everybody chooses things differently. But if I'm going to share something with someone, I'm going to be the test dummy for it first. Why do I have so many books? Because I have experimented in the publishing industry so much to see what works, what doesn't work. I'm the test dummy, not my authors. So
I love that, because I think you can see, I've done it myself, you can get distracted by the noise around you, and you think, oh, that person's talking about that, maybe I should talk about that, and this person over here is talking about that, and this one up here, Karen's talking about that, so I better talk about that as well. And then if I found myself, particularly on social media, like I
Yeah.
stand back, I don't do it anymore. And I think, I don't know who this person is,
Yeah.
because you're trying to be someone else. And I said, hang on, just stop that. And just like you just said there, talk through yourself, tell your story, your experience, and then you can't, well, you can make it up, but if you're true to yourself, it's just authentically you. And then ultimately, the right people that you're authentic to are the ones you're going to attract, as opposed to the fake ones that you
Absolutely.
don't really know what to do with.
Absolutely. I'm really excited about what you just said, because the thing is that we can be inspired by other people. Like, things will pique our attention and
Mm.
we get inspired by it and respect and go, oh, I'd love that for me. But if you do it your way and show up your way and don't compromise any of your values in the process, I'm very values aligned. And I am like, I want to bring my kids to school every day. I want to pick them up. I want to be present as a mom. I hang out
Yes.
with my kids on school holidays. That is my choice. If we're in lockdown, my kids are around me, but I'm still able to show up. And because I've now got an amazing team who, so I get to show up in my genius zone all the time. And not many people get to do that. So it's a
Yes.
real blessing. But whenever, if you can get inspired by other people but not copycat them, you can be inspired but then give your own twist and make it your own.
Yeah.
I absolutely love just having I talk about my power of knowing, and that's how, because people say, how do you do what you do, Karen? And you do it so, you must be so busy. And I'm like, yeah, but no, because I prioritize joy first of all. I prioritize my family as well. So this is so important to me. So whenever I do everything's true that. So I never compromise any of my values. So that means whenever I achieve something, I feel every bit of it. I do my happy dances because I haven't compromised any of myself to get it.
Yeah.
So I see so many people striving for maybe that $1 million mark, but then what have they lost along the way? When they get there, they're going, "Oh boy, what now?
Yeah. Was that
Is this
worth it?
it?"
Yeah. Mm.
But and which is so sad. But again, that's part of their journey.
Yes.
Whereas I set my intentions, I set my goals, I set my destinations. Like, I just achieved my huge, big, audacious goal for this year. I achieved it on the 1st of September. And little did I know when I set the intention how it was going to happen.
Yes.
But I knew it was going to, and I was going to go on that journey and show up when the opportunities arise. And they did arise. And I showed up. But I showed up as authentically me with my values. And little did I know that the people I would connect with and get my results from have exactly the same values as me. And I didn't know
Yeah.
whenever I had my initial conversation that they were the answer to what I was hoping would happen this year. And that's why you have to show up and be authentic and be you without without seeking something big to come out of it. You just turn up and really connect with where you need to show up in life, because you're knowing. I call it my knowing, because it's a 3-step thing where I set an intention, and then inspired thoughts or opportunities will present themselves to me, and I go, then I go to the think it stage. So I'm feeling it, then I'm thinking it, going, oh, is this aligned with where I want to go? And if it's a hell yes, I have the courage to action it straight away. Because if you
Yeah.
don't action it straight away, somebody else will.
Yes.
But if it's a I don't know or a no, then I also have the courage to turn it down, because it's a distraction. It'll deviate me
Yes.
off the path of where I'm going to go. And that's why I achieve results faster than other people, is because I'm very clear in the intentions I set, where I'm going, and I bring people along for the ride as well, because it's fun, more fun together.
There's so much gold in what you just said there. I think everybody needs to pause and replay what you just said.
Sorry.
Everything there about authenticity. That's brilliant. Beautifully said. Hey, you mentioned it before, so I want to talk about your superpowers.
Mhm.
Okay, these superpowers that you have in helping people bring out their story. I find that, well, for me, starting was the hardest in writing the book, and then keeping that momentum. Well, one of the things that I did was I set the end date of my book being 31 December, first mistake. And then
Yes.
all I did was I kept changing the year.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it took,
Big mistake.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then on the 1st of June, I woke up and said, no, I'm getting it done in 12 weeks. And that's what created the fire for me. But tell me about your superpowers and how you help people get their stories out.
Well, most people who jump on a call with me, who now just remember, publishing is my forte. It's my thing. But I have written a lot of books, and I am a busy mum of six, and I have three publishing companies. So where do you find the time to write your books?
Mm.
So it's just about a shift in mindset and focus, and most people are in their own way. That's what I've always
Yeah.
found with book writing. I was in my own way because I did not believe that writing 50,000 words was
It's
possible.
possible.
I was like, wow, that was just but writing 1,667 words a day was doable. That was doable because I had been writing blogs at the time. So that's how I broke it down into a day by day thing. And because for me, I always work in the 21 days to create a new habit model.
Mm-hmm.
So for those 3 weeks, I go say to my brain, okay, we're going to make this little bit of extra effort mindfully for 21 days. And instead of saying forever, I'm going to, because otherwise my mind goes, and pulls the brakes on it. So I go with it on that model, and I just make an extra effort. So whenever I'm writing a book, I get up at 5 a.m. I am a 5 a.m. riser anyway. And then I'm connected to my most dream night state. So I'm not getting in my way. I'm not overthinking things. But I will already have in my subconscious mind from the day before know what I'm going to write. So my top tip, if you're writing your own nonfiction book, is to get clear on your essence, which is probably a good way to do that is your title. What's your title and subtitle? What's your book going to be about? So really know the essence of your book and the message you want your readers to read. And quite often for nonfiction book, it's you 5, 10, 20 years before that you're writing to, because you're writing the book you needed to read then. And really then spend the time and focused energy on your contents page. Know what your content's going to be. Write down 20 potential chapters, right? And if you write down 20 potential chapters, 2,500 words each, you got a 50,000 word book, if you think of it like that. 1,500 words for 30 chapters is a 50,000 word book. I just using that as an example because in my brain then it's broken down to easy digestible bite size. For a nonfiction book, I say 1,500 words a chapter is enough. So it's like a double blog. I put it down to because I write blogs all the time. They're around 750 words. But once you focus on your contents and you've got that pinned down, what chapter, it will change, allow it to change. But once you've got a core, then it gives you something to work off. So where do you start? You write your introduction. Why are you writing this book? Who is it for? And your introduction will change when you go back to it. Once you start in the flow and start writing your chapters, or some people have been audioing them. So if you audio your chapter for about 15 minutes, it just means it needs a really good edit. It needs more of a structural edit then.
Yes.
Whenever you go over your audio and transcribe it and put it together, you really need to go through it. But you have the skeleton of your book, and then you just go over it and put in the muscle. So I just go on that process and just keep it nice and simple and not overthink it. But it gives you a structure to work with. What's your title or what's your essence of your book? If you don't know what your title is, have a working title. Get your framework, which is your contents, and then write your introduction and then just write to the framework. Your book will come together in no time.
I heard you recently, you just, I think you're on a radio show talking about how you create a book in the car each day by just what you said about, the recording.
I'm going to show you this book. Actually been picked up in the US for it's The Soulful Entrepreneur.
Yeah, beautiful. So you did that all in the car?
I did it in the car driving up and down to the city. And so I talked for 15 minutes. Again, let me just show you the framework in this book. There's my contents page. So all of those are contents. And I just spoke to 15 minutes to each of them. So
And I think you mentioned something really powerful there about that change of mindset, where I was going from, I'll do it 31 December, 31 December, 31 December. I said, well, clearly I'm never going to get it done at this rate. I needed to change it. And I started getting up at 20 past 4 in the morning and writing. Why? Because I had no other distractions at that time, and I was fresh and energized, and I could just write. And that worked for me. And then I ended up going where I did most of the work. I went on a 10-day holiday to Bali and wrote. I just wrote the whole day. Everyone would have looked at me weirdly because I was just writing and writing from sunrise to sunset. But I got so much done. So I was in this great flow state. the other thing about the recording, so like sometimes these like this show that we're on right now, I'll do that while I'm driving into the city or driving somewhere, because it's like, well, I don't want to waste this time. This is valuable time. And yeah,
Productive.
you can record it and write a book. I have been experimenting with some different what do you call it, transposition type software, and I think I need to speak more clearly
Yes.
because some
Well,
words are
I'm
not coming out
Irish.
well. But
Yeah, I'm Irish, and so I use Happy Scribe, and it's really good at picking up my voice. And
yeah,
because
cool.
I was having no success with Google, with all of those other ones, but Happy Scribe was good. And yes, but when I speak, sometimes golden nuggets come out. But
Yes,
even whenever you write, and I'm sure you find this, Rob, when you write and you're really in the flow of writing, it's as if something just flows right through you and
yes,
onto the page. And whenever you read back over, so I'm not saying please just record your books. I'm not saying that at all. If you can write it, please do. But some people find it as a big block to sit down and write. So I'm like, well,
yeah,
if you're a speaker, then speak. But it means that, you have to hand it over to an editor and they'll like rewrite it for you, but won't lose your essence, if you know what I mean. So
yes,
that's why editors are amazing, because
yeah,
when I wrote
agreed.
my first book, I never even thought about an editor. So
Yes,
you don't have to have a perfect book. Just invest a bit in an editor. They are worth their weight in gold. I
yeah,
would not afford your books if it wasn't for if it wasn't to do with, if I wasn't able to just show up and, be that author that I wanted to be for that.
yeah. Can you perhaps share with us? So I know I had no idea when I'd written my book. My first goal, I just write the thing and then I'll work out the
Yes.
next step. And I met somebody over in the US and I said, look, I've written this book. I said, I don't know what to do now. And he said, well, you need an editor.
Yes.
I said, okay. And he said a developmental editor. I said, okay, great. What's that? So maybe, would you be able to maybe just give aspiring authors a bit of a snapshot as to what it looks like in terms of getting from, okay, we've talked about how do we get the thoughts out and we've got a book down, those next steps through to getting it published.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is what I didn't have this foresight. So if one of your listeners can just understand the process, but don't let it be a block. Because remember, you don't need to know everything. The journey it's revealed to
Right.
you along the way. But the biggest part is writing the book. So, and just remember, an editor can't write your book. You need to produce that content that they
Yes.
can then work with. So there's 3 stages of editing. There's structural or developmental editing,
Mm.
there is copy editing, and then there's a proofread. Okay.
Yes.
So if you are a new author, you will need a developmental edit. There's no point in,
Yeah.
it's important and it's really worth it.
It,
Um,
absolutely for me. They
yeah.
pointed out things to me that I thought, oh, you've made such a good point. I didn't see that.
And the thing is as well, it's really good to have their input because they know what the book market industry works. And plus you will learn so much. So if you think of it as a mentoring, exercise, because
Yeah,
you can go through
absolutely.
and see everything and go,
Because it is a bit intimidating to start with. We think, oh my God, this is the
yes.
first person that's seeing this. What if it's a piece of crap?
It's not a piece of crap because it's coming out of you. It just needs to
Yeah.
be
But you're
molded
scared of
into.
that. You think, what if no
Yeah,
one likes this?
of course. Oh my God, we all have those inhibitions, and that's why I always ditch them to the side whenever I set the intention to write the book. Because whenever you deal with the inhibitions of, oh my goodness, it kind of is like the feeling of, can you imagine running around the streets naked, just like you're exposing all of your inner thoughts? You know what I
That's
mean? It's like,
right.
but it's not like that at all. It's something to, whenever your book gets out into the world, it's amazing how it becomes a catalyst
Mm.
for so much success because a book goes on a journey itself when it's published. It's amazing. I wouldn't have the success today had I not chosen to publish my first book,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And a book is, it can be about book sales if you want to focus on book sales, but it can be so much about the journey, the connections, where you get to show up in the world, going on a blog tour and that. But back to the process. So the process is you write your book, put it away for 2 weeks, and then come back at it with a different hat and read it. And don't, just read it from a point of view of getting it to where you can bring that book, okay? Whenever you go, I can't do any more of this, then it needs to go to the editor. Then the editor will go through it. There'll be lots of red marks. There always are. Editors love putting red marks over your words. and you will receive it and you will go, oh, I'm a terrible writer. Look at all these corrections. Everybody gets that. Even the top best-selling authors in the world who write books every year get lots of those. So don't worry about that. Then what you need to do is go through it and accept or decline. Because remember, an editor is giving you advice and feedback. It's not, if you don't resonate with something they've suggested, you decline it because you are the one that knows the essence of your book and the message that you are wanting to put out into the world. Okay. So then once you went through that part of the process, it might ping pong back a bit with the editor, but it'll just be for little things. Then it goes to a copy edit, which is just to tidy it up. Because when the structural edit happens, there's just a bit of tidying up to happen. And then what we usually do then is typesetting, which is your book looks like a book. And then we do a really in-depth proofread, which means that we make sure all the commas are where they're supposed to be and the paragraphs look, so that's the process that we go through. And we walk everyone through it. It can be a bit daunting, especially your first time, but once you become accustomed to it, it just is second nature. You just get on with the job. But it's worth it. That's the thing. It's worth it. It's worth sticking it out and enduring the whole process, because when you have that book in your hand, when you're able to have those conversations that are around the essence of your book, my God, you can change lives. You can change someone else's life by sharing your story.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I just got a couple more questions for you, but obviously anyone that's thinking about publishing, well, they just come to you. But in terms of that mind process of how people are going about selecting a publisher, how do you, because I had no idea how to do it.
Neither did I. That's why I became one. No, there's different parts of publishing. Okay, so it's traditional publishing, and I own a traditional publishing press, which is Serenity Press, which is where we do children's books and fairy tale retellings. In there, I have nice big authors. The Duchess of York is one of my authors in there.
Yeah, I saw that.
Kate Forsyth, Juliet Marillier. These are amazing authors. We host an annual retreat in a castle, although it's been paused last year. Hopefully next year, but and then. So it's a wonderful traditional press that's high vibrational, and it's my success story. I set the intention, I want to build $1 million press, and I thought it would take me 25 years, and it took me 7 years. And I'm like, wow. So Serenity Press is like my baby. I adore it. And there's amazing authors in there and illustrators as well. We founded a lot of amazing talent. But I have never copycatted any other press. I've just shown up and brought in books and I've went on a journey as well. We used to do romance and stuff like that as well. But now we found our niche, and that's where we hang out. But I do have a lot of people that come to me because they know that we have a lot of connections now and all of that. So I started MMH Press, which is where I actually publish my metaphysical books and all of those kinds of, like Think and Grow Rich kind of stuff in there. But we also have a big poetry vibration in there and also fiction in there as well. So we have some really amazing up and coming fictional authors in there. And then I've got KMD Books, which is my big 2020 COVID success story, where all business owners decided I have time to write my book now. So they did, and they came to me, and for me, it's an honor to join someone on the journey, because it's not about the book. It's about the journey of publishing the book and beyond. Once an author has a book in their hand, that's the beginning of the journey.
Yeah, the hard part's getting rid of it, isn't it? Really?
It is. But whenever you understand, like usually I jump on a call and say, this is what you can do, whatever resonates with you. You can go on a blog tour, you can have an online event. I always have an online event for my authors, and all of these kinds of things. Have a #1 best-selling day, do all of that, get it, attract as many sales. But remember, with your first book, it's a high vibrational visibility thing. And then whenever you build up your readership, or if you're lucky enough, like I know business owners who have an audience that they need to serve and give them a book, like they sell thousands and thousands of books because they've already got the audience there in place. So I help them really capitalize on that. Whereas if they were signed with a traditional publisher, like with Serenity Press, they would only get 10 or 15% of ORP. Whereas with KMD Books, we partner, so the costs are covered, and we just do everything, that's whatever the package the person chooses. And then that means that they have all the profits,
Yeah,
so we
wow.
have some authors making, really doing very well out of their books. And they're like, sign me up for the next one, because it just becomes such an amazing, and you can really leverage it really well, whatever. And it is about the publisher aligning with the intentions of the author, because not every author has the same intentions, whether one's focused on book sales, one's focused on visibility, brand aware, all of it
Mm,
depends. What one author we had wanted in Big W, so
okay.
we went on the journey with her, got the distributor, and she's a businesswoman. So we left her there, said, that's how you can get into Big W. She's still in every Big W. It's amazing.
Yeah,
But
wow.
it's such a privilege and an honor to join people on that journey. And we're either on that journey with them for a long time or just a season, and that's okay. But
Mm.
that's the thing. My authors know they can just inbox me and I will answer them. So that's just how I
Yeah,
roll.
fantastic. Yeah, that's amazing. Well done. Well done. Are you seeing a trend away from your traditional hard copy books now with your audio versions and your downloadable versions? I know I have my preference. I've got to hold the thing, but
Yeah. Well, audio is always wonderful to have, and we have started to gravitate into audio because, especially in the US market, audio is a big. People going out for walks, listen to books, or whatever, or doing things.
mm,
It's a multitasking thing. But there is still. I'm a print book girl. There's nothing like sitting
yeah,
up, curling up with an actual physical book, because I do a lot digital. So I don't want to read digitally. I want to. I
yes,
read manuscripts digitally and things like that, but I want to be able to sit up, curl up with a coffee, a pack of bickies, and a book. I just, no matter what genre it is, whatever mood I'm in, it's just a physical book. So yes, physical books a few years ago were starting to dwindle away, and that's when you seen bookshops start to close and things like that. But they've made a comeback. So
yes.
ebook and digital have different readerships, and quite often people have both. If someone really likes a book, they'll have it digitally as well, and that's the thing. So
Okay. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. Hey, so tell me,
that's,
last couple of questions. Your most impactful book that you've ever read?
ooh, well, there's a
I know that's a
few. It
tough
is
one for
just,
you.
I am
You can give me a
so
couple if you like.
widely read. Well, I'll talk about the ones that just opened up my mind to possibility.
Yeah.
And there was two. There was two. There was one that done it softly and one that was a wake up call. And the one that did it softly was Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. And it also goes into the metaphysical reasoning behind illnesses. So in that book, like if I have a sore back, I'll go and look at the reason for a sore back, and I go, oh my God, that yes is going on in my world. So if I do the affirmation aligned to that, it eases it. But I also compliment. I always compliment with medicine, because the Louise Hay's book is amazing and shows you how to heal yourself with your mind and things like that, but also how to achieve things in your life that are beyond your comprehension, just to open your mind that anything's possible. But and it's born out of love, but so is medicine. So that's why I always am very conscious to say that, because I would rely on both to
Yes.
have optimum health. And then the other one was The Secret. So
Okay.
it was a big wake up call for me, to, because it was in your face. You're going, okay, but now I know, and I'm so well read in it, and I've studied the law of attraction. I studied the
Mm,
law of attraction, but never told anybody I did it. I
yes.
just thought, I'm going to go see what I can make happen.
Yes.
And oh my goodness, it was like, wow, this is so much fun. And as little did I know that when you're joyful, success is, inevitable, because,
Yes.
it's all about how you view it. But I've had financial success, I've had, personal success, I've had, I've grown my publishing presses to be what I've deemed to be very successful, and just showing up and being able to remain, not having to compromise any of myself in the process, that's success as well. So it's, what your definition of success really is. Um, but yeah, The Secret and Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life are the two main books that were a catalyst into my mind being opened. And then I started to write my own books
Yeah.
because,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. Fantastic. I mean, those couple of paragraphs you just said there is, again, so much great words of wisdom that you've said right there. I think when you do show up authentically, you've got, that passion and drive. But I think what we often forget is have fun. if you're not having fun along the way, because it's hard work being an entrepreneur and having the success that you have achieved, it's a lot, and you're a different person now to where you were when you started it. Just like writing a book,
Absolutely.
you're just different. So I want to congratulate you on all your success, Karen. It's been truly magnificent in talking to you today, and I'm sure our listeners will get a heap of value out of everything that you've spoken about. If people would like to get in touch with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Well, I hang out on LinkedIn and Facebook. Facebook is where I grew my whole brand, but I love LinkedIn as well. And I also suggest that if you want to go and watch my latest TEDx talk, I've done two, but the latest TEDx talk is Karen Weaver. It's where I talk about my 7 life principles of mindfulness, intention, knowing, gratitude, love, forgiveness, and belief. And those are my main, I call them my success principles. So I live by them every single day. And that's what I'm writing on at the moment. But so go and check out that TED Talk. You will get a lot out of it. But you can find me on KMD Books, on Serenity Press, or on MMH Press as well. I do have a free online community on Facebook if you want to come and join. It's Life Magic with KP Weaver. Weaver is my writing name. If you want to check out my books, because I've got such a, my entrepreneurial, Karen McDermott has, is the publisher me, and then I've got KP Weaver as the writer in me. So there we go.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. Oh, that's brilliant. Any aspiring authors out there, any current authors think about writing another book? I mean, you are the person to come to. Thank you so much for joining us today, Karen. It's been a real pleasure.
My absolute joy, Rob. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.